Tonight. The first few months of the border crisis were relatively easy for the Biden White House. The media was so elated by their ouster of Donald Trump that their coverage of this mayhem was quite friendly. Most media figures are open border liberals, so even when reporting on massive caravans of people crossing and kids in cages yet again, the coverage had the feel of a humanitarian problem and not the most idiotic, self-inflicted political wound ever recorded. To this day, the White House continues to incentivize illegal crossings, rolling back or reversing every one of Trump's common sense immigration policies as part of Biden's anti-Trump promise. We know that. With every day the border stays like this, the wounds of bleeding heart far-left globalists heal just a little bit more as their post-Trump stress disorder fades away. Let's hope they're feeling a lot better because, like with most liberal policies, that great feeling is about to come with a mother of a hangover. And even the liberal media is realizing this really is a disaster.
Even supporters of this administration say that they were not prepared for what happened, that they came in and were so adamant about calling the Trump administration's immigration policies immoral, and they moved so quickly to overturn so much of the Trump administration's policies that they didn't think far enough ahead and in advance to what that would look like on the actual border when they changed those policies.
Didn't think is the understatement of the century. This White House is full of people who don't think. A White House that runs on emotion, feelings, and virtue signaling. Who needs reality when you're high on liberal elitism? And now, because a nation $28 trillion in debt clearly needs more citizens in need, the Biden administration is reversing Trump-era asylum policies as well, reinstating the previous asylum definition that was vaguely worded and could theoretically apply to anybody who just wanted to come into the United States. Our left-wing attorney general this week making it much easier for countless Central Americans and anybody else to game our asylum laws. We've essentially made the southern border welcome mat even bigger, and we've turned on the porch light. How incredibly clueless can you really be? In the face of all of these problems over the last 6 months, the White House is simply doubling down. According to CBP, more than 900,000 migrants have been arrested since this fiscal year began in October 2020. More than 700,000 of those arrests have occurred during or after January 2021. 700,000. Nearly 1 million arrests since Biden took office. Again, those are just the ones who got caught. And now that it's clear that Mayorkas, Biden, and Kamala Harris are full open border, despite what they say, a remarkable thing is actually happening. Red states, tired of the chaos, are saying enough is enough. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who presides over approximately 1,200 miles of the southern border, big majority there, announced that since Joe Biden won't do the job of the federal government, Texas will.
We are announcing that Texas will build a border wall in our state to help secure our border. And make no mistake, the border crisis that we're dealing with right now is a direct result of the open border policies that have been put into place by the Biden administration.
Yep. Abbott signed legislation providing a $250 million down payment on construction. It certainly won't be enough to fully fund the project. This will cost billions and billions of dollars. So the governor then established an online portal where private citizens can donate. So the plan, of course, is light on details because that ain't going to pay for it. How a single state will be able to pull this off without aid from the federal government is tough to see. But for now, the governor is demanding the feds return the land that was acquired by Trump for the purposes of building the wall. Quote, your administration made clear the federal government will not move forward with building the border wall at this time. I write now to demand that you immediately return to Texans any land taken by the federal government but not used for building a border wall. So that's where we are. Border states are rightfully feeling abandoned by this administration since they can't count on the federal government to do anything but hurt their states. The governors of Texas and Arizona are sending out a cry for help. They wrote to every single other American governor saying this: on behalf of Texas and Arizona, we respectfully but urgently request that you send all available law enforcement resources to the border in defense of our sovereignty and territorial integrity. You think you're angry about this? Imagine if you lived near that border. Here's the governor of Texas again describing the situation in his state.
Homes are being invaded. Neighborhoods are dangerous, and people are being threatened on a daily basis with guns of people either coming across the border or those working with those who are coming across the border. Cartels, human and drug smugglers, and human traffickers, they're all profiting off of our open border crisis.
Sadly, so far, only Idaho and Florida have responded to this request. And here is Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis.
That the state of Florida is answering the call. Florida is going to support Texas and Arizona. We believe that securing the southern border is important for our country, but specifically we believe it'll benefit the people of Florida to be able to get this under control. And so where the federal government has failed, the states are stepping up and doing our best to fill the void.
Well, they got their work cut out for them. Joe Biden set out to own Donald Trump. Ruining America's southern border and the states that go around it is evidently just collateral damage. The White House is also giving a big, fat gift to the cartels who run highly sophisticated military-like operations to smuggle in people, weapons, and drugs across the border. A report issued in March stated criminal cartels that are trafficking families, women, children, and single adults over the southern border earned as much as $14 million a day in February. I'm in the wrong business. Of course, liberals can't be bothered with details like that, or the fact that 1 in 3 women are sexually assaulted on their long journey north. Now, of course, it's all about virtue with liberals, what they want it to happen. The reality doesn't actually matter, as we stated earlier. More details that don't matter to the left. On Monday, Border Patrol agents in Laredo, Texas, spotted a large rental transport vehicle loaded with 27 migrants crammed into the rear cargo area with no ventilation or method of escape in the scorching heat. Sounds lovely. But who cares, right? We're trying to do open borders here, people. If we got to cage up thousands of kids and a few thousand women got to get raped, so be it. We need something to brag about at Manhattan dinner soirees. Also discovered earlier this week, 108 migrants found in trash-filled Texas stash house near the border. Oh. Border Patrol discovered hundreds of these stash houses where people are treated worse than rodents. And that looked nice. The cartels are getting filthy rich, and the liberal elites are doing what they do best, ignoring the world that exists outside of their bubble.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.